decided to try something new. That is to have a little bit of conversation while I'm ironing. Please let me know your comments below. So, I've always liked to iron. Since I was younger, I ironed my own school uniform, and I often ironed other things in the house too. When I moved out, I actually made sure I always had my iron set up in my new apartments. As you can see in one of my very, very early videos, I have a specific way of wanting my iron board, where one doesn't see the little triangles that are underneath, but that it is nicely upholstered and soft, and that no patterns show through to the clothes. I think this comes from my mother, as we had a wooden iron board while I was growing up, and when the fabric started to go a little bit, or the inners started going a little bit flat and run down, she would replace it with a new towel, or with an old towel, or a few old towels. And normally we'll be then having some needles, needles is the wrong word, but the things that you use the hammer for, which would then basically tack them down to the board itself. And once I started having my own iron boards, this wasn't really available. They'd have like the wooden iron boards as the really cheaper versions, and always too small. They'd be like children's iron boards kind of thing. So I started looking to make a plan on how I would do it. And so I have multiple layers underneath this cover, and when this cover starts getting a little worn out, then I will most likely add one more layer over it. Hopefully by that time there can be a nice cover. Nice black and white flowers pattern or something like that. My favorite pattern for my iron board was the one I had while living in Dubai. I gifted the board to a friend of mine just before leaving. And it's small things like that. So if I had known where I would end up 2 years after leaving, a year and a half after leaving, I would have just sent everything directly to my dad. But I didn't, and so one learns. A little story about this pillow cover. is I made it, or I colored it, painted it when I was about 10 or younger, I think younger, while I was at my godmother's. And she then sewed 2 little buttons there and these 2 buttons on there, or beads, and she sewed it onto the pillowcase for me, and that was my gift. And I have had that pillowcase for a very, very long time. That could maybe explain why the paint is going away a little bit and why 2 of the beads have fallen off. But it still brings me joy to look at it, to have it on the couch. The reason why I started ironing for videos is because my husband mentioned why not try ASMRs, and before I had no idea what they were, but he is an avid watcher. He likes them very much to fall asleep with, or just to listen in the background while he's doing things. And I would multiple times start baking, and as soon as he mentions he wants to have a cake, I'd take out all my baking things and start baking him a cake. And oftentimes he'd fall asleep with just the sounds of all the baking things happening in the background. And initially, with the ASMR concept, I thought, okay, it's just doing things while filming. And I tried to make it as the other artists that he had been following, so with the cuts and through sewing and through baking and cooking. But that did provide me quite a lot of stress, and I was at one day, you know what, I like ironing. I'm just going to iron in front of the camera and see if that works. And I know a lot of people say I iron too fast. However, this is very slow for me. I am usually much faster at ironing, and I struggle ironing slower. I would actually usually also iron while I'm watching series, or while I'm while I'm watching series. So since having to iron, or since starting to iron, not having to because it is my own free will, since starting to iron on camera, I've been unable to watch my series, or watch any series, or watch any film while ironing. And that is pretty taxing on my brain. And I think that's why I end up going even faster. But it's all in making a conscious decision of going slower and attempting to make a little bit of noises where one can hear it and find relaxation. My biggest problem with not talking or with talking is I have no idea what to talk about. I'm usually a blabbermouth. However, I usually also have topics to talk about. And for example, with friends, there's always a few topics one can talk to with friends about, because there's some history with talking to them. So please, if you have any questions, decent questions, I would love to answer them within another video. As I said in the beginning, if you like this type of content, please let me know and I will make some more of them. We recently started going to the gym because I picked up quite a bit of weight when I moved here, and my husband very nicely, very supportively told me, well then, let us take out a gym membership, because I'm not the type of person to go outside and run. And I've always done hospitality work and been in an environment where I am constantly busy, and honestly my eating habits were completely different, not due to necessarily me just sitting around, because that also has a very big impact on my eating habits, but also because when living alone and having shift work, you don't necessarily, or at least I didn't, I would often just have make myself some noodles or some rice with butter and spices, and that would be my dinner. The basic things are not necessarily a lot, so that with a little bit more activity does help somewhat to keep the weight at the normal state. Since doing an office job, which I am currently doing, I have started stress eating, and that is not very healthy. So my husband told me, okay, well in that case let us go to the gym, fitness studio, and now is the attempt to take back my body. In the meantime though, I have to still sit with the bigger jeans, and knowing that those nice little jeans that I wore 2 years ago will probably never fit me. The reason why I brought that topic up is the yellow shirt that I just ironed was we went to get him some workout shirts, and we bought it in his standard t-shirt size. However, after washing them, they had become too short, because apparently people are always short when they're a certain size, which is definitely something I also know about women's clothes. Oh, and these ones I shortened. Maybe there's the other version in there as well, which you can see. But yeah, so the initial color schemes was more neutral, and I believe you would see them in other videos as well. A blue and a white. And as soon as we wash them, he's always pulling and tugging like that. And he's like, well, let's get one size bigger. because, well, he doesn't want to struggle with that while he's trying to concentrate on something else. These are the pants that I then got myself, or that we got me. And they are super comfy, especially because at the stomach over here, it actually doesn't push hard. It's got this nice band which actually folds over. And so when wearing it, you very much do this, and this sits roughly over here, and it's so nice. The only thing with them was that they ended just below the knee, and usually those type of pants have like a little grip that's supposed to hold on, but I think that a lot of these trousers are made for, if it's for example XL, even the legs are then made for people with bigger legs. And for me, I just like to not wear constricted clothes. So I might have gotten a size too big according to that shop, which fits me perfectly when it comes to my stomach. However, when it came to my legs, it was all just flapping around. Still a made plan. And I cut it to just above my knee and made a nice little hem. Oh, the other one is still in the basement. I need to still do that. So you will not see proof of it in here. But yes. Back to the yellow shirt. My husband has never really bought anything like that. As you can see within all the color ranges we have, that yellow is the craziest color that we actually have. He's only got one red shirt, which I have adopted every now and then. But the reason why it's a red shirt is because, well, upon the trial of let's see if all these shirts, regardless of one size bigger, all just shrink to an uncomfortable length, because sometimes they make it that it's bigger but it's not longer with one size higher. And we were like, okay, well let's try one and see if it shrinks, and if not, then we will purchase more. And we got a black one for him, which was fine. The shop didn't have any other colors in any case, but the black suited him very well. And we washed it, we tried it, and he was like, yes, it fits. And then he went back on the website to then order it, because by that time we'd already gone to the shop like 3 times. And looked through different shops as well. And we could only find the one black one in his size. And when he put the order in, he was just like, you know what, I've just ordered the yellow one as well, because at least then I have 5. So that if we go 5 days after each other, then he doesn't need to worry about me wanting to iron them. I know they don't need to be ironed, I just want to iron them. So usually I iron before leaving for work, but today my husband has gone out on a Saturday and I decided, okay, well, let me iron out. And funny enough, on Saturdays, my neighbor is cleaning his house. Well, he's upstairs neighbor. And I'm sure the video won't pick up the sounds. However, I can just hear how the vacuum cleaners is going on. And it's not the typical vacuum cleaner sounds, but it's like this sound. And when something gets dropped, I don't know what it is. It sounds almost like a coin is being dropped, but I'm assuming it's maybe a cable or just something being moved in a certain way. Then one can also hear like a penny dropping or like a coin dropping. Now things are moved within the apartment. That is also quite a clear sound. Oh dear. Where to fetch a scissor? I'm always so scared with this fabric because the iron can just decide to hold it tight and then not let go. So I've got this old t-shirt of my husband's, which I wore for a while as like a sleeping shirt. And then eventually I was like, no, now it's too many holes because it's really so paper thin, one can really see through it. It must be, 14 years I think old, if not more. Some of his shirts are that old. It could be younger, and it's just, was supposed to be that, but it feels like it's so old. And I find it amazing to sleep in his old t-shirts, purely because they're so soft and unconstraining and better and thin. I mean, yes, they make these bigger t-shirts or dresses for a woman to sleep in, but they're usually not that thin, you know, like the fabric isn't the same. It's got like a thicker fabric almost, or it's made to be a little bit more on the pretty side. So yes, once here's another one. See, these are the new shirts. Once my husband said no, he can't wear them anymore because of the holes, I was like, yes. Now it's my sleeping shirt for a while. And then once the years there are past, then okay, fine. And this one was so nice and big. I was like, well, it's actually the perfect shirt to use as a cover so that I don't have to burn clothes like these. And I mean, they don't leave the exact same, it doesn't leave the exact same straightness or the exact same feeling, but it's still ironed and it's still straighter than what it was. So I had initially never ironed with an iron like this one, where the water source is next to it, a stand. I always thought those were very fancy, and I kind of didn't see the need for them because I was used to having the water inside here. And when I got with my husband, we also purchased one that has the water inside, and it was brilliant because it had such a nice long cord. But at one stage it just stopped working, and like this, the button over here just didn't want to give. It was stuck, I'm assuming somehow the mechanism didn't work anymore. And I tried to Google if there's a way to loosen it, and I saw quite a few people had that same problem with the same thing. My hope was to still eventually repair it. But yes, I still needed to continue ironing. So I went to the shops, and I'd at the time been ironing for someone else or at least not just ironing, but I was cleaning at a home, and I had some ironing work for them. And they had a similar one, just not with where one can see the water level. And I thought, this is an iron that I want. So, because it really feels like the clothes are just so perfectly ironed, they go really, and the crease is just as the only thing to it is the button needs to be pressed quite frequently. I don't feel like it actually irons very well without that button being pressed and without the steam coming out. And with that comes the noise. There's this constant to make the steam. I, however, enjoy the results. It's nice and clear. So these shirts, I actually did not a tie-dye, I colored them. As you can see, they were white. This one was white. In the other piles, I'm sure there's other videos, I'm sure you'll see more of them. They were white, and I'm not a big fan of wearing white. So, purely because it's a little bit more see-through. Let me just pack this away. So yeah, we wanted to color something else. We have a fitted sheet that is of that little, it's a kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's linen or something like that. And the only fitted sheet we could find was a yellow one right in the beginning, and we got that to try it out, and we actually do like it. We did like it a lot, and then eventually we found the covers as well for it. We still had this yellow bed sheet, which we are not, both of us are not too much of a fan of. And I was then thinking, okay, well, let's dye it, let's colour it. Went off to the shops, could only find blue, brown and black. And blue was not my ideal, and brown, well, that would have worked if we wanted to colour the sheets to match the yellow, which we didn't. So I took the black, and I found it then an ideal opportunity to join my white t-shirts, which I have been only be wearing inside the house because I don't like how see-through it is, and I added them into the washing machine to colour them black as well. And it's quite funny because they all look like they are tie-dyed and it's actually just the way that the colours spread out. Funny enough though, it just did that effect with the t-shirts. The actual bed sheet is perfectly black. Well, mostly perfectly black. The only thing was my idiocy with adding the bed sheet to it with it being folded. Yeah, okay, noobs. Okay, noobs. I'm a noob. So they were actually ran through a colouring cycle twice. As the first time I had tried to do it by hand. I mean, it does say machine wash, but my hope was, oh, maybe I can also do it by hand, and then that didn't work quite well. So I ended up having to wash it again, this time in the washing machine. And then it worked. Ooh la la. Sorry. You might see that all our clothes are folded in a certain manner like this, and we really don't hang any clothes. We have 2 dressers, one each, and then a smaller dresser each for our underwear and socks and sleeping wear and so on. But the actual clothes then go into categories, like the t-shirts in one drawer, the trousers in the next, and for me, for example, dresses in the third, and his is pullovers in a third. Then I keep the linen in the bottom shelf by me, and he keeps his workout clothes because he cycles to work every day, so he keeps his workout and cycling clothes in a 4th drawer for him. I keep my cycling clothes in not my cycling clothes, I don't have any cycling clothes. Okay, wait, I have a trouser which I've never used, or which I've used when I was living in England, wanting to cycle to work there. That worked for a few weeks until I left. My workout clothes are basically these. Will go into my fitness clothes drawer, and that's basically a mix between what I would wear for sleeping as well. I don't wear my fitness clothes for sleeping. I just put them in the same drawer because it's few enough to do that for. So yeah, with the t-shirts and trousers and even my dresses, once they're when they go into the drawer, they actually all go standing up. So like this in the drawer, so that one can actually look from the top and see what they look like, how they're packed, or not how they're packed, what each shirt looks like, or trousers, so you can actually choose which one you'd like to wear instead of having to flop around and them. You can just look in and grab what you need. It does become a little bit funny to have to manage that when there's a little bit less clothes in there, but it still works. I actually started doing that way of folding in, what was the year? 2015. I started folding my clothes exactly like this and packing them away, because I like to see what I have, and I've never really been a big fan of hanging clothes except with my uniforms, where I would be wearing a dress or certain shirts, and then it was always easier to hang those, but then it was only my uniform to be hung, and the rest of the clothes was folded. And that's what worked for me. Good. I'm done. I wish you a lovely day, and let me know what you think of the talking video.